Hi again guys, so Slabs, and this week we're back to meta-irrelevant decks after the sprinkling of relevancy that was Plunder Patrol. So this week we're bringing Cyberse to the playmat. So Cyberse is the deck of choice of Playmaker, who's the latest protagonist of the latest Yu-Gi-Oh television series. So Cyberse got a few new toys to play with in Eternity Code, which has given a considerable boost to consistency and also to the power ceiling of the deck. So let's not waste any more time and hack into the deck of choice of the Playmaker. Alright, so I know this is going to blow your mind, so we're going to go with monsters first. So first up, Lady Debug. So she's the Stratos of the deck and has been a mainstay for most of the Cyberse deck life. She's still very powerful, although the level 3 restriction on the search does mean she locks you out of a lot of the key monsters that we want to go for. From there, 3 Mirco Coder. So Mirco Coder is another searcher unsearchable by Lady Debug, and this also searches something else, and in this case, most of the time you'll be searching your Cynet spell and trap cards, which is most of our spells. Most of the time you will be going for Cynet Mining, but which is also a searcher, so you can see how this kind of search on search gives you a lot of flexibility. The linking from hand is a really unique ability as well, which, you know, it gives you the ability to extend beyond just the bodies that you're putting on board. So then 3 of the new cards, so we're going with Armored Bitron. So this is kind of like a Lone Fire Blossom, and who isn't like a Lone Fire Blossom? So what it does is it tributes itself, especially in a Cyberse monster from your deck. You can't activate its effects, which is a little bit of a downside compared to Lone Fire Blossom. But we've got a lot of effects that activate in the graveyard, which kind of counter the fact that you can't activate the effects on field. It's great for plucking out monsters that you need at any point in time. And again, another new card from Eternity Code is 3 Parallel Excede. So this is an absolute monster of a card. It's easy to summon. Basically you can summon it to a link pointer whenever a link monster is summoned, and it special summons another one of itself out from the deck, reducing both of their levels to level 4. It's a +1 on the extension, and it's because it's so easy to summon, it's just replaced a lot of the cards that used to just plop themselves out on the field with this. It's also searchable by some of the cards in the rest of the deck. So from there we've got 2 OBS, and we've got 2 Balancer Lords. So these guys have, I used to run it at 3, and obviously it's a good starter and it's a good extender, so you get an extra normal summon if you use its effect. It's also, if it's banished, you can special summon 1 from hand, and that's kind of crucial to parts of kind of like your combo of setting up your kind of first turn block, which is what this deck's going for. So we've got a bunch of 1-offs after that point. So Cyberse Gadget, I used to play him at more again. Normal summon, you can special summon level 2 or lower, and it also, when it's linked away, you can special summon a token. So he's just, you know, genuinely really good, and he's a target for your Armored Bitron should you use some of your other targets. He's a link 2 in 1 card, so it's really good. We've got 1 C Archiver and 1 Backup Secretary. So Backup Secretary, you know, sometimes you just need that Bora-esque special summon from hand, and C Archiver is good for a pitch, and again it can be used as kind of like an extender as well. We've got a couple of level 1s, so we've got Dotscaper, who's super cute, and also can special summon itself if it's banished or sent to the graveyard. You can only use 1 of those effects per turn, which is a little bit sad. But again, he's a one card link too. And then we've got Formud Skipper. So Formud Skipper can be searched out from your Armored Bitron. It's sent to the graveyard. You can search your Parallel Excede. So again, he's super useful in terms of accruing resource, and he's one, these 2 are most of the time the targets that I'm going to with the Armored Bitron. And for there we've got a couple of engine cards. So we've got the Cyberse Synchron. So this is key for kind of going to your Synchron cards in your extra deck, and your Cyberse Magician, your Ritual card that again complements the lock. So Magician's got an unusual effect where it can only be attacked and targeted for card effects if there's another monster that's a link monster on board, and combined with the Synchro cards in the extra deck, that means you kind of put up a soft lock. It also gains 1000 attack when it battles a Link monster, so it can become a 3/5, which is pretty huge. And also, if it's destroyed by a card effect, you can search a Cyberse monster. So, you know, it's just a genuinely good card. I mean, the downside is that it's a ritual card. The Synchron card is, you know, a tuner first and foremost, but it's also got a banish effect from the graveyard, which can protect monsters in the extra monster zone from battle, which I always forget. From there, you've got 3 hand traps, and I'm pitching for another budget variant of a hand trap, just 3 effect veilers. But look at this super cool full artwork that my fiance painted for me. Yeah, how nice. Alright, and that being said, I think we're done with the monsters. Alright, so diving into the spells, surprising no one, there's going to be 3 Cynet Minings. So the Cynet cards are great because all of them are searchable from Mirco Coder when it's linked off to summon a Code Talker, so these are all really easy to get access to the pieces that you need at the point that you need them. This is obviously a really good card because it's a spell card that you can play and then it gets put into the graveyard. Obviously search is amazing, but the fact that there's a spell card in the graveyard is relevant to some of the cards in the extra deck. From there, we're playing 3 Cynet Codecs. So this is another card that was out with the video game pack of cards, which is a weird place to release, you know, cards, especially ones that are kind of crucial to an archetype. But yeah, so this got released with a video game pack along with Mirco Coder and some other cards that I'm not playing. So Cynet Codec's a searcher, but it's a weird searcher. So whenever a Code Talker is summoned, you can search for a Cyberse monster with the same attribute. You can't search for another card from the deck with the same attribute as one that you've searched for already. So again, you can really, you know, accrue a lot of advantage, especially if you're diving into all of your different attributes of Code Talker. From there, 3 Call by the Graves. You know, we're a spammy, fragile combo deck, and we really hate getting Ash Blossomed on the Cynet Minings. So anything that can let us go off, the better. So from there, we've got a bunch of one-offs. So 2 more Cynet cards. So Cynet Optimization. So it gives you an Armades type effect. So if your Code Talker attacks, it can't be responded to until the end of the damage step. And it also, which is the more, I suppose, the more relevant effect, or the effect that you're going to be using most often, is it's a double summon. Cynet Ritual is the ritual spell that complements Cynet Magician, but it's also got a graveyard effect, which can be reasonably good in the recovery phase of a duel, where you can banish it and a ritual monster. If you control the monster, summon 2 tokens, and again, that kind of gets your ball rolling again. And from there, we've got a bunch of generic cards. So we've got Foolish Burial and Monster Reborn. So obviously Monster Reborn is just extension. Foolish Burial can put key resources in the graveyard, Dotscaper or a Sea Archive, for example. And then we've got another couple more. So we've got 1-for-1 and Gold Sarcophagus. So 1-for-1 searches your key cards, Dotscaper, Formud Skipper, stuff like that. And Gold Sarcophagus is generally used for, again, Dotscaper because, you know, it's an immediate body on board, but sometimes, you know, you can choose to use the Balancer Lord effect to special summon one from hand if that's more appropriate. Alright, so another epic trap section. So we're playing 1 Cynet Conflict. So I really think that traps are wayward in today's Yu-Gi-Oh! I think that they've got a long way to come to be relevant again. Obviously that's not true for every single trap, but for most traps I think it is. Cynet Conflict's got the benefit of being searchable, but basically it's an infinity barrier for whenever you control a Code Talker monster, negate and banish, and you can also it also means that your opponent can't activate any effects of that name until the end of the next turn, which really doesn't come up often. It's kind of a win more, if I'm being honest. I think you can definitely set up with your lock and then also go to this, which sometimes just seals the deal. Alright, so let's plug into this extra deck. So we're playing 2 Synchron monsters, Cyberse Integrator and Cyberse Quantum Dragon. So Cyberse Integrator is basically a stepping stone into Cyberse Quantum Dragon. So your tuner can increase the level of a monster, or double the level of a monster, should I say. So it, along with level 1 or level 2, will go Cyberse Integrator. Cyberse Integrator special summons back the tuner. The tuner then doubles its level, so it becomes level 6, and then you can go into Cyberse Quantum Dragon. And in the process of that, because this is sent to the graveyard, you get to draw a card, so it's pretty decent. Cyberse Quantum Dragon is a bit like Cyberse Magician in terms of if there's a Link monster on board while you control it, you can only attack or target that card. And in combination of those two things, you kind of get the lock, where you can't attack because you can't attack Cyberse Quantum Dragon because you have to attack Cyberse Magician. You can't attack Cyberse Magician because you have to attack Cyberse Quantum Dragon. God, I'm not going to say that more than once. It also is a non-target bounce when it attacks, so it's solid in its own right. So from there we're playing a bunch of Link 1s, so we're playing Link Disciple and Link Devotee, and they kind of go hand in hand. So you summon Disciple and summon Devotee below it, you activate Disciple's effect to tribute Devotee, to draw a card and put one back, which means you can kind of sculpt decks. There are cards that where you don't really want to see them, you want them to be in the deck and to search them out. For example, the Ritual and the Tuner and stuff like that. Devotee then goes off and summons you 2 tokens, so it effectively gets you to a Link 3 from a Link 2. Devotee does mean that you can't go any higher than Link 2, which is sad, but you kind of don't need it when you're setting up your locker on your first turn. So another couple of one-offs. We're in Linkuriboh, who's just a generic, easy to summon Link monster, and sometimes you just need to be able to summon to a zone a Link monster points to. And then one Talkback Lancer, who's a fairly new addition for me. I hadn't really realised that this guy was out. But what he can do is he can tribute a Cyberse monster and then special summon a Code Talker monster with a different original name for the monster you tributed. I'm not really sure why you tribute the same monster, but and special summon it back, and that just allows you to kind of go plus in your kind of second and third turns. So from there we're running a couple of Cyberse monsters. So these allow the lock, so that's Cyberse Witch and Cyberse Wicckid. So Witch is if a monster is summoned to a zone it points to, you can banish a spell, search your ritual stuff, so that's both the monster and the spell, which is obviously quite decent. And then you also get to special summon a level 4 or lower Cyberse monster from your graveyard if you've activated that effect. The downside is that we're not playing that many spells, so getting one in the graveyard or having one in the graveyard isn't always guaranteed, which sometimes means you need to kind of navigate your Code Talker or your Mirco Coder and your Code Talker plays in order to allow Cyberse Witch to go off. And a similar thing with Cyberse Wicckid, when a monster is summoned to a zone it points to, you can banish a Cyberse monster from your graveyard and then search for the tuner. So, you're searching for your Synchron monster and you're banishing Balancer Lord in the process, the benefit of that, in order to special summon out the tuner to allow you to go to your Quantum Dragon. Wicckid also protects the monster it points to from card destruction. So if you've got a Wicckid on board, plus your Ritual and your Synchro monster, you've got monsters that can't be destroyed, can't be targeted, can't be attacked. So again, it's kind of a soft lock that is actually quite difficult for some unexpected decks to be able to out. So we've got a couple of other Link 1s that are kind of in the misc pot. So we've got Splash Mage, which is a new one from Eternity Code, and Update Jammer. So Splash Mage is I think kind of a missed card from me. I was just kind of looking through the Eternity Code spoiler list and saw this, and I think it's actually really decent. So you can basically just special summon a Cyberse monster from your graveyard, so it's a searchable Monster Reborn at the best stage of the game. In terms of the downside, you can only special summon Cyberse monsters, but we're not playing a single non-Cyberse monster that we actually want to summon, so it's basically got no downside. You can also summon back the Parallel Exceed, and it's level 8 at that point, which fulfills the criteria of your Ritual summon in one card. Update Jammers obviously had relevancy in the meta. A double attack is, good for trying to seal the game going into turn 2 and turn 3. So from there we've got our Code Talker monsters. So we've got 2 Link 2s, we've got Code Talker and Code Talker Inverted. So Code Talker's effect is pretty relevant if I'm being honest, but it's a dark, it's relatively easy to summon, it points down, which is great. So the fact that it's dark means that you can search for your microcoder off Cynet Codec. Code Talker inverted, although its arrow is a little bit hard to utilise, special summons from hand, which is great for extending. It's also a light attribute, which I think is probably the best in terms of searching in the deck. Got a couple of Link 3s then, so we're going Excode Talker and Transcode Talker. So Excode Talker first. So it can block out zones based on the number of monsters in the extra monster zones, which is completely irrelevant really, if I'm being honest. I can't think of a time where I've played this card and gone, oh yeah, wow, that zone's locked off, they'll never be able to get around that. But it also gives any monster it points to 500, which isn't terrible. Transcode Talker is probably the better of the two. Any co-link monsters gain 500, so any card co-linked to it and itself gain 500. And it also can special summon back a level 3 or lower Code Talker, which means you can kind of step up through Code Talker into Transcode Talker, bring back Excode Talker, and you've kind of got some big monsters, and a lot of resource in terms of your link markers and stuff. And then finally, we've got the one Accesscode Talker, which is a new card from Eternity Code. He had a little bit of a spike in price after I got this, which was surprising really. He's good, but I don't think he's ever going to be your Boral Load or Boral Sword Dragon. So he can't be responded to, which is pretty decent. I mean, there's not that many cards with a can't be responded to effect, but what he can do is he can banish link monsters with different attributes, so earth, wind, we've got water, we've got dark, we've got light, to pop cards on your opponent's side of the field. So he can blow out an entire opponent's board. He also gains attack equal to link rating times 1,000 of one of the monsters it used for its link summon. So he can be a big boy, and if you can combine it with Update Jammer, he can basically seal the deal. Alright, so in conclusion, Cyberse are never going to be meta. Sorry to all the Playmaker fans out there, but the different summoning mechanics that are going on and the kind of non-linear combos that are built into the deck make them a really fun, casual pick. It's a shame that some of the pieces of the deck are locked behind basically a paywall. The fact that they've put some of the cards in a video game pack is nuts. And Accesscode Talker is quite expensive, although I was running Dark Fluid Dragon, which I think is a lot cheaper. But if you've got the chance to assemble them, they're a really fun combo deck, and I'd thoroughly recommend them. So that's it. Maybe catch you next week for another deck profile from Sir Slobs.